Hello, how is everyone doing? So, I wanted to talk today about a few things that I notice when I'm in the gym. A little bit about me. My name is Agam Sassoon. I'm a personal trainer, a health coach. I have a master's in public health, and I'm really passionate about working out. I love I love working out. Something I've been doing for over 10 years, and I love understanding how to work out better. One thing I constantly notice is I'm in the gym 6 days a week, and I see a lot of people that I would love to help out in the gym and give some advice. Sometimes people are receptive, sometimes people are not. So what I'd like to do today is answer three main questions about working out. First question is, what types of exercises should I be doing if I want to build muscle and lose body fat? Second question is, what or how many hours per week, how many days per week should I be training? And the third question is, when I do train, what should a typical workout look like when you're training in the gym? And my intention is to give you very basic information that can be done by anybody in any environment, whether you have a really poorly equipped gym or you have a gym that has every piece of equipment in the world. So to answer the first question of what types of exercises that you should be doing, of course, this is general advice for somebody that's beginning. Because if you're training for the Olympics or you're training to do bodybuilding, you would be doing different types of exercises based on what your goals are. So if your general goal is to lose body fat and build muscle, there are certain categories of exercise that need to be present in your plan. And generally, for the lower body, these can be divided into lower body exercises, upper body exercises, and core exercises. So for the lower body, what you want to do is some sort of squatting movement. And you also want to make sure that you have a single leg component. Now for squatting, you can do a body weight squat. You can use weights and do a really wide stance, so closer to a sumo squat. You can also put a bar on your back and do a back squat. You can have a bar or a dumbbell in front and have a goblet squat. And there are also single leg movements like a step up. You could step forward and do walking lunges or stepping lunges. You could step to the side and do side lunges. You could step back and do reverse lunges. You could also do single leg squats. So there's many different types of exercises you can do, but generally in a week you want to get one of a two-leg exercise, so an exercise where you're using both of your legs, and you want to do at least one where you're using one of your legs in that category. So that's the first category, which is squats. Second category is some sort of hinge movement. So that is what is commonly referred to as a deadlift. So if this is your back when you're standing up straight, when you're squatting, you'd be going down sort of like this. So your back is almost completely upright. It might get to a 45-degree angle for most people. But when you're deadlifting, you actually want to, if these are my hips and this is my upper shoulders, for the deadlift, you want to really start by drawing your hips backwards. And your chest could come almost 90 degrees to the ground, and that's called a Romanian deadlift. Or it can be more a traditional deadlift where it's your chest is a little higher. What's important is that this portion of your back doesn't flex or extend in the movement of the deadlift. So you're bringing your hips back, you're pressing your hips forward. So as I mentioned, you can do a Romanian deadlift or a traditional deadlift. You can use a trap bar or a regular bar or use dumbbells. If you're beginning, you might want to just do it with body weight to get used to the movement. If you want to work more on your stability and balance, you could do a deadlift with one leg. So you could be standing and balancing on your right foot, and then you draw your left foot and hip back and come all the way up. And you want to have your knees slightly bent. So those are the main leg movements. Of course, there are other leg movements, um, and but those are the two main categories of leg movements. And the reason that I chose these two categories is because if you do both of these, you're going to work most of the muscles in your lower body with just two categories of exercise. So the next portion we'll talk about is the upper body. So for the upper body, there are pushing movements and there are pulling movements. And like the lower body, we can do these with both of our arms or with one arm at a time. And generally, if you want to lift pretty heavy and work on your strength, you would do a movement like for pushing, you do something like a bench press or a shoulder press. So the bench press, you'd be pressing from lying down on a bench. The shoulder press, you'd be pressing upwards. And you could also, if you're looking to build stability, to make sure the right side of your body is the same as the left side of your body, you could work on single arm exercises. So instead of a bench press, you could do uh, holding dumbbells. You could do a dumbbell press, or you could do this on a bench where the bench is at an incline. Generally, the higher the incline, or the more upright the bench is, the more you will be working on your shoulders. So depending on what you want to focus on that day, if the bench is horizontal, you'll be working more your chest muscles. So for the pushing exercises for the chest, you could do a push up, bench press. Um, for the shoulders, you could do a shoulder press. You can also do what's called incline push-ups, where your feet are on a higher surface, um, which makes it a bit more challenging. And then for pulling exercises, generally when you're pulling towards yourself, holding a bar, that's called usually a bent over row. So you'd get into a Romanian deadlift position. So again, this is my chest and these are my hips in the back, hips, chest, shoulders, and I'd get into a pretty low position where I draw my hips back, keep everything straight, and then if this is the bar, I'm pulling the bar up, driving my elbows in. That's a bent over row movement. Great movement. Um, you can also do single arm rows from the same position. Of course, you can use a cable to pull towards yourself. Um, and then there's many other stability exercises that you can do to supplement. But generally, these will work part of your back, and then the other portion of your back you can work by doing pulling from high to low. So those will be things like pull-ups or a lat pull down. Finally, moving on to the core, which is the fifth subcategory, but the third main category. We talked about lower body, upper body, and now the core. So with the core, there are actually four components, and this is not talked about by all fitness professionals, but it's really important to understand this, and it's something I see a lot of people getting wrong when they're exercising. So as mentioned before, here are my shoulders, here are my chest, Here's my hips. So the hip portion, uh, the pelvic complex, would be a really important area to focus on when you're doing leg day. So that would be things like doing an exercise like a bridge or like a single leg bridge, hip thrusts. You could do something like a when you're standing up straight, you could swing your leg out to the side to work on opening your hip up. You can also work on closing your hip or squeezing your knees together. Let's say you had a ball in between your knees. So those would all be working on the hip uh, complex, which is part of your core. Next would be muscles that work to prevent your lower back from extending, and these are called anti-extension muscles. So many of you might know or have heard of a plank. That's the most basic anti-extension exercise. You can also do the plank from a push-up position where your arms are fully extended. And then you can add in different difficulties. Let's say you do the plank, but you only stand on one foot and you have both of your hands touching the ground. So there's a lot of ways to make the plank harder or to advance the plank or make it easier. For example, you can go on your knees. So there's ways to make it more difficult and ways to make it more simple if you're just starting out. So the purpose of these exercises is to prevent your lower back from making any movement because every time your lower back moves and you're holding a heavy weight, it can cause your spine to come under pressure or to come under. We don't. If this is the spine, the purpose of the anti-extension exercises is to keep this stiff, to stiffen throughout the spine. We don't want to be, uh, bending over while we're holding heavy weights. We want to keep this stiff, or how does this work? This way. We want to keep this completely stiff while we're lifting. Um, so the next category of core exercises is something called anti-rotation. So this can be done through uh, making sure that your body is not turning. So if I had my hand straight out in front of me and somebody wants to push my hand this way, the muscles that keep my whole body looking forward and not moving are called anti-rotation muscles. And these are generally found on the side of your core. And these are really important in holding your spine in place. And there's different exercises that can work these, like a side plank, like a bird dog, like a Pallof press. And this is an often neglected area that I don't see people doing in the gym. And the final category of core exercises is our core exercises that work the upper back muscles. So these are the scapula muscles, which are really important to make sure that we have healthy shoulders. The scapula muscles are what keep our shoulder in place and help us from when we're, let's say, pressing or pulling, make sure that our shoulder is not popping out and forward, but that it rests inside of the shoulder joint. So those are the four categories of the core, which is the hip, anti-extension, anti-rotation, and the scapula upper back complex. And the next question is, how many hours a week should I be working out? And how many hours a day should I be working out? And generally, if you're just starting out and you haven't done a lot of these exercises before, it's important to learn proper technique. And this can be done with a trainer or by watching a lot of videos online or studying how to move properly. But generally, you'd want to at least dedicate one day to the upper body, pushing and pulling, one day to your lower body, and one day to some sort of full body along with a core movement at a minimum. Now, some people find they can do a pushing day, pulling day, deadlift day, squat day, maybe a shoulder day, and maybe a different type of pulling day. So they might do 6 days. And other people might want to combine, um, doing what they call full body. So working, pushing, pulling, and also legs in one day. And they might only do 3 or 4 days, or maybe even more depending on how advanced they are. It doesn't matter. What matters is for muscle growth and fat burning is the total amount that you're able to work out per week. So it doesn't matter if you do really heavy legs Monday or you do lighter legs on Monday and then Wednesday. At the end of the day, if you're doing the same volume of activity over a long period of time, the results most likely will be the same. Now, another question is, what should my workout look like? If you were to walk in the gym and where do I start? What do I just go and start hitting, starting carrying weights? So if you are new to the gym uh, and you don't really know how long your workout should be or what it should look like, I break my workouts into 4 different steps. The first step when I get to the gym is a dynamic warm up. And this warm up will last between 5 and 15 minutes, where depending on if I'm going to do legs, upper body, or lower body, I'm going to do really light movements that are going to get my body warmed up and prepared for the type of activity that I'm doing. For example, if I'm doing a pushing day and the main strength exercise I'm doing on that day is bench press, and I do recommend you only pick 1 or 2 main exercises per day. So don't do 7, very difficult exercises in one session. You won't really be able to push yourself hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a band and I'm going to warm up my chest muscles, my shoulder muscles, my upper back muscles, and I'm going to do perhaps band pull aparts, or I'm going to do what's called shoulder dislocations, where I bring the band, put it all the way over my head. I might hold the band outwards like this and do some rotator cuff warm ups. And I also might do some scapula stability work in the beginning to make sure that my shoulders are going to be properly working and they're not going to come up and go out and cause any instability during the workout. So that'll be the first portion. It'll be 15 minutes. Of course, if you're doing legs, you want to work on warming up your ankles, your hips. You might want to activate your glutes with a bridge. And you could also do some warm up squats or some single leg Romanian deadlifts to get ready to start lifting some weights. So that would be the first portion I would do of the workout, and that might last 15 minutes. The second portion I would do is a is the heaviest lift and the focus of my workout first. So if I am doing a pressing day, as I mentioned, I would start out with the bench press and I might do 4 or 5 rounds of if you're starting out, you might want to do a weight that you can do 8 repetitions with good form. Then you wait between 60 seconds and 120 seconds or 1 to 2 minutes, and then you repeat that 5 times. And then you would perhaps work on a different uh, chest movement. So you might work on a dumbbell incline press, a fly. You could do that with dumbbells, or a fly is when you bring your hands together. Of course, work on exercises that you're confident that you can do well. Finally, you might want to focus on some triceps. Of course, if you're doing a full body day, you might do 3 sets of 10 of the bench press and then 3 sets of 10 of squats or deadlifts, depending on which how you want to split up your workout. But then you could do one auxiliary lower body exercise and one auxiliary upper body exercise. So let's say you're doing bench press, then I would do maybe a dumbbell shoulder press or a dip where I'm on the 2 bars and going up and down. And with the legs, let's say I do squats, then I could do walking lunges or reverse lunges. So that's what a the strength portion of the day would look like. And then the fourth component would be some sort of light exercise followed by a cool down, which could be some long stretches. So I might hold the stretch for 2 minutes. Whereas in the beginning of the workout, I was moving back and forth and doing dynamic stretching. At the end of the workout, I might hold a position for a whole minute and do that multiple times. So that's what a workout would look like. I'm happy to answer any questions. Uh, I am available for questions, for comments. Of course, this content is targeted towards beginners in the gym that want to build muscle and burn fat, but always learn from a professional. If you are not experienced doing the movements, I don't recommend just starting out and trying the movements on your own. I see a lot of people doing movements incorrectly, but the purpose of the information I'm giving you is these are the essential components that are, in my opinion, necessary as a foundation for building muscle, strength, and burning fat while working out with weights in the gym.